It's a late one, down at his shed. It's very quiet out here, just been an owl hooting. I weren't going to do one, but I feel compelled to. We've had 2 games so far. He's tried his experiment. It's clear to anybody it weren't working. And for the 3rd game, we knew that even manager would say, this has got to change. Players out of position. It couldn't carry on. But as predicted, and we knew it had happened because it is very staid. Alexander-Arnold dropped out. Gallagher coming. Now we knew that was going to happen. We knew that was going to happen because in the previous 2 games when it didn't work, that was substitution that he made. And we didn't really look any better then. So for him to change it up today, an opportunity to have a look at some things and just reverse that substitution, essentially. Not far enough for me. What I am going to have to bite the bullet is that I'm going to have to accept, I think, that I'm not going to see this 4-1-2-3 that I think would best suit our players. I'm just going to have to bite the bullet on that one and accept I'm not going to see it in this tournament. He's clearly going to stick with his 4-2-3-1 with his 2 sitting players. And the good thing to come from tonight's game, I've not enjoyed game. The good thing to come from it was that with every substitution that he made, we look like a better team. So the obvious one, Mainu, come on. Now, as far as I'm concerned, he's played his way into starting 11. He's got to start next game. If he's going to insist on playing somebody back there with Rice, it's got to be Mainu. He's got an ability on ball. He can get a foot in. But he's got an ability on ball to turn and play a forward pass. And I thought we looked a different side when he come on. And then the second change, the one that we've all been calling for, was Cole Palmer. And he come in and he did exactly what I was saying before. Denmark game. He just plays naturally. He don't care who he's up against. He don't care who opposition is. He don't care who's marking him. It's all about what am I going to do when ball comes. That's all he cares about. And that's what you need. You need players with that mental freedom. That mental freedom to I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to go out and express myself and try and make things happen. And he did that. Now, obviously, when you're coming off bench, sometimes you can try a bit too much because you're trying to impress. So I think there was a little bit of that. But I thought them 2 coming on changed the dynamic at team. And then Gordon comes on. Another one who, for me, equally should be starting. His first thought was to get at his man. And for when he came on, 88 minutes. For 88 minutes, their fullbacks hadn't had a job to do. And you can talk about opposition teams and they're playing 2 banks of 4 and making it difficult and this sort of that. And yeah, that's true that they did do that. But then you've got to make it difficult for them. Do you know what I mean? You've got to... Well, they're hard to break down, so what we're going to do? Well, if you're not passing through them, and we weren't passing through them, how else can we get through them? Well, one of the best ways is have a player who can have a go at him. So Gordon's come on, he's got about, 6 minutes to end the game? And albeit the first run he had went out for the throw-in, it showed the mental positivity because the first thought he had in his head is, I'm going to get past this man. I'm going to get past right back and put a delivery into a box. And for the first time in game, you saw that right back, well, oh God, somebody's having a go at me. Because there were ample opportunities for us when we actually did work the ball down that side. And it would all right-footed players having to come back inside when we got into some decent positions. And just having that natural balance, it gives you something completely different. I mean, it was still far from a convincing performance, but as I said, with every substitution, I thought we looked better. Now, this talk of, them being young players, Mainu, Gordon, Palmer, young players, and to an extent, they need protecting and this and other. And do they? I mean, sometimes I think, you chuck a young player in and they're a bit of an unknown quantity to opposition. You can watch players don't tell you as much as you want, but when you're coming up against them physically out there on park, that's a different ball game entirely. And what those 3 showed, which is what we were calling for them to be in before Denmark game, is they've got that youthful exuberance and confidence. And they played like that. So our passing looked much better when them three were on park. And probably the best move at game actually involved all three of them, which were Cole Palmer shots at end. Fantastic ball from Gordon, split their defence. Lovely little flick round corner for Maino, and you know, Kane lays it off for Palmer. That's the sort of thing we can be doing from first minute. You've got to give players this opportunity to go out and do that. It's too staid for me. It's too staid. And albeit we've gone through with one group, fantastic, and you know, teams do grow into tournaments. And I'm hopeful now, because I'm trying to be positive about it. I'm hopeful now that he's made them changes, looked at what they've brought to the side, looked at the fact that our passing sped up a bit in the second half, looked at the fact we've got players who aren't afraid to take somebody on, you know, aren't afraid to try and make something happen, and most importantly, it's bravery. Aren't afraid to make a mistake, because if you're going to try something on park, there's always that chance that you're going to make a mistake. But you've got to be brave and attempt it. And these three young lads, they don't play with any fear. They don't play with any fear. And sometimes we talk about experienced players a lot, and the value of experienced players. And I agree with that, obviously, and centre half, especially I like experienced players. But in your attacking areas, sometimes I think experienced players, I think they can be a bit downtrodden with it all and become averse to taking risks. Young players don't. Maybe they've not got that. Maybe they've not had bad experiences of things going wrong, but because of that, they've got a willingness to try and make things happen, and that's what you need. It's a short competition. I mean, I've talked about this with mates of mine so many times over the years. It's not a league. Do you know what I mean? It's not for 6 months. It's a 3.5, 4 week competition, and that's all you've got to be good for. Is 3 or 4 weeks, and in a small window of time like that, exciting young players with no fear can make all difference. All difference. So I'm just hoping now that he's seen them positive reactions from players out there on park. Them three's obviously been chomping at bit. Foden were coming inside a lot more. You see best of him. We talked about this before. Denmark, when he's out there on flank, he wants to get involved. He wants to get involved, and sometimes he comes in too much and it narrows pitch because you don't want to be out there waiting football. So there's that side. Sometimes it can narrow our play too much, and it doesn't do him any favours because he's best in middle. But the other problem we've got there is when Foden's been coming in off the left hand side because he's desperate to get involved and trying to, you know, do something with ball. If you've got a left fullback who's bombing on, you've still got the width. If he drifts inside and you've got a fullback bombing on, you've still got the width. And this is where we go back to that thing about only taking Shaw as a first recognised left back. I love Kieran Trippier. I think he's a terrific player, but he is all right foot, and the number of times he got forward into those positions, other than one time at first off when he came inside and whipped the ball in with right foot in swinger, there's no delivery from that side. And as I said, from my point of view, I think I'm going to have to forget about seeing that 4-3-3 that I'd like to see us play. And if we're going to play a system with these two sitters, I think he's got to look realistically at putting Saka in at left back. Because if Shaw's not going to make it, if he's got a personalised programme and he's running about on grass, you've got to have that balance in your team. Palmer's done enough tonight on right hand side that for me he's got to start next game. 100%. I'd be very tempted to start Gordon on the other side, despite it was only a 6-minute cameo. Maino has 100% played his way into that team on that performance. There's no way that Gallagher or Alexander-Arnold can get put back in that spot after what that kid's done in the second half. And to that end, I'd probably do that. Gordon and Palmer on flank. And I'd be seriously tempted to put Saka in at left back. He's got recovery pace, you know, might not be best defender, but he's got recovery pace, and he brings you that balance. He brings you that balance, and he can get up on the outside and put delivery into the box. And like I said, if you've got players coming inside, your fullbacks have got to get up and support and give you that width. So the one other concerning thing for me tonight, other than the team that started and the way very staid, you know, essentially the same as we did in last match and match before that. Was Bellingham. Lad don't look right to me. I can't put my finger on it especially, but I'm not saying he looks disinterested, but he don't look happy. He's done a lot of walking about. It's going down very easily for a lad of his size, and I know we've talked about it in past in this country that maybe our players are a bit too honest sometimes in staying on their feet where foreign counterparts might get down and try and get a free kick or a penalty, but it's going down very easily, doing a lot of walking about, and I'm not saying he's looking disinterested, but he don't look like he's got a fire somehow. Now, before Southgate made his subs, there was a spell of maybe 10 minutes or so when Saka, Foden and Bellingham were all moving about. And obviously I get the plan, you know, they're moving about, it's harder for defenders to pick him up, you know, they're here 1 minute gone next, who's my man? And I'm wondering if it's that sort of thing that's sort of got into his head, because obviously he's at Madrid, he's the main man, he plays in that position, goes through him. Suddenly, you know, having to go out to the left for 5 minutes while Foden comes in, or having to go out to the right for 5 minutes, when you're used to being main man and just playing in your position, just playing in your role, is there a little bit of that sneaking in, like, why am I having to drift out here, you know? I'm not saying it is that, but there's something not right. There's something not right. To that end, this would be my team for the next match. He's clearly going to stick with 4-2-3-1, so this would be my team. Pickford in goal, Walker at right back, Saka at left back, Gay and Stones as centre halves, Rice and Maino in midfield. Maino has 100% nailed that spot for me. If he doesn't start next game, there's something seriously wrong. Gordon on the left, Foden in the centre, Palmer on the right and Kane up front. I know, you can't drop Jude Bellingham. Well, if he's going to play this system where he's not going to play 2 off the striker and he's only going to play 1 off the striker, you've got to play the one who's playing well. And for me, I thought Foden won at brighter sparks this evening. And Bellingham to me looks off boil. Like I said, I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if he's tired. I don't know if there's something not right in his head. I don't know if he's happy with the role he's playing, but whatever it is, he don't look 100% on it. And sometimes it's not so much a case of dropping people as just giving people a time out. You know, he's still a very young lad. He's played a hell of a lot of football. He's had all them Champions League games. Madrid have been on a fantastic, and I'd love to know how many games he's played this season. And maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just that catching up with him a little bit. You know, it could be something as simple as that. But if you're not playing a system with 2 behind striker, you've got to pick one of them. You've got to pick one of them. Now, from outset, before tournament, you'd probably say, well, it's going to be Bellingham then. But you've got to go on who's playing well. As I said, it's a short window. It's 3 or 4 weeks. If it's a bad vein of form in that 3 or 4 weeks, that's just bad luck. That's bad luck. You can't hope, you know. I mean, I hope he does come good. And maybe a little spell on bench. I'm not saying a kick up arse, but maybe a little breather or taking out from the spotlight and the expectation. Maybe, you know, that might do him some good. But yeah, that'd be my team. Just let him off leash, and I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful now that he's seen that second half. He's seen that every time he made a sub, we went up a level. Still went brilliant, you know, it was a dull game, but every sub made it a little bit better. And as I said, you've got to be positive. You've got to look at going out and winning games. So I'm hopeful that training ground this week he looks at 1 or 2 of them things. As it is, I don't think he will put Saka at left back and start all 4 at subs, but I'd be very tempted to. Anyway, we've won group, but still without being convincing, and that's the thing.